Hello and welcome to Our Time. Oh, Malcolm, don't worry, I'll fix it afterwards. That's all right.
Thank you, Mother.
Only because I picked it up before and I shouldn't have said anything in the first place.
Welcome to Our Time. Lovely to have your company today. Who do we have today, Janice?
Who do we have today, Malcolm?
Well,
we're talking about teeth.
Teeth. And what happens after you've had implants done or other work on your teeth? Is it forever or does it need repairs? We're also talking with Leo O'Reilly, who has come all the way down from Queensland to talk to us.
Lucky us.
From Veterans for Youth. And that's a really interesting story. I urge you to stay with us for both of our particular guests, and then we have a bit of a surprise.
We do, but first...
welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. It's a pleasure.
Steve, your official title, apart from doctor, is...
Periodontist.
And what does periodontist really mean? Because often we hear these terms, but you don't actually know.
They sound similar, don't they?
Yeah, you specialise in...
We specialise in diseases of the gums, and our field is, because it's surgical in nature, tends to aggregate across to doing some implant surgery as well.
So I have to be honest, I met Steve because he's actually working on my fang tooth, this one here.
Oh, okay.
Because I had an implant some years ago because when I was younger I had a turn tooth there, and the dentist at the time said, oh, we'll whip that off and put a
implant?
Yeah, no, a post in. But when he did it...
That sounds painful.
Oh, well, it's only a small post, just a little thin. Could you explain?
It's basically a little foundation, and it is basically like a fence post. You place it up into the tooth,
right, and
you glue it into the tooth, and a crown is then cemented over the top.
But unfortunately, when he drilled in, it broke. The tooth literally split in halves when he put the post in, and the glue sort of kept it there for a long time. But, you know, we're on telly and all that stuff, so you really want your choppers to look respectable. So I said yes to it all, and eventually it fell out many, many, many times. It's good in the middle of an
yes,
and your tooth falls out, you know.
Oh dear.
However,
at least you didn't swallow it.
No, I didn't. However, my local dentist said you really need some work done on that tooth and sent me to Steve. So while I'm in the chair going a bit,
excuse me,
I said, Steve, people need to know about this. And you're really working on this area, aren't you, to let people know about maintenance?
Absolutely. So part of the process when we talk to patients is that the first phase of treatment is so important. But the phase that people don't talk about, which is the maintenance phase, is as important as the first phase. So 50-50 in terms of importance. So it's like having a new car. If you don't look after it, you're not going to have a great car.
I was about to say, it's more than just cleaning your teeth. So it's more than just washing the car. You need to have it serviced.
That's correct. And so
people, when they have it done, have to keep coming back to you.
Not necessarily us, because I tend to be a specialist that gets patients referred to him, and then I'll send the patients back to the dentist.
Oh, okay.
But whether we do some of the maintenance or whether the general dentist does the maintenance doesn't matter, as long as somebody is doing the maintenance. There needs to be communication between all the parties, the patient, the dentist, the specialist sometimes, and the dentist, to ensure that everyone knows who's doing what.
Yeah.
And definitely the patient understands that maintenance is so important. So maybe 10 years ago, it wasn't so important, but now that we know that complications with implants can occur at a higher rate than what we thought were occurring.
Yeah.
It's fairly new technology, isn't it, really?
The technology is new every single day. I'm trying to...
keep up.
I'm treading water, trying to keep up with it. It's amazing. But the foundational technology is amazing and has been well researched. So the success rates of implants are really quite high, in the high 90s. But they can, as you're aware, can get some complications at a certain period of time.
Well, as Anna, my dentist, said, there were bacteria having a party there, but as you said to me, and they can breed 3 times a day. Well, no, I think it was John, actually, our friendly dentist before, was saying it can change 3 times a day.
Absolutely.
So the damage...
But how often then is the maintenance? If you're saying you need, after the process, then maintenance, but how often? Whereas you would probably normally go...
It varies on the type of implant, crown, bridge or denture that you have. Okay. But we would say that if you're having a single tooth or a bridge, 3 to 4 monthly or 6 monthly with your dentist is a good idea. So incorporate it into the part of your regular routine of seeing your dentist and having a clean done, which is really important. Yeah. If you're having more complicated work like bridges, large bridges that are screwed into place, it's paramount that you see. We tend to do that work for the general dentist, where we remove the prosthesis, the teeth, the bridge, and we clean for you in a specific manner, and that's done as a minimum once a year. And for some patients that we feel have greater risks of developing complications, then we'll get them back in about 6 months' time.
Okay.
So patients who smoke or patients who've had a history of gum disease, periodontal disease, are definitely at a higher risk of developing problems. So guess who we see a bit more often. So we definitely see those patients.
Okay.
My tooth is improving, so fingers crossed it's looking better. So show us what we're really talking about, Steve.
So man, we've got this is an X-ray, and as a layperson you don't necessarily see X-rays, but this is the implant. You can see the metal component of that implant.
It's a big screw.
It's a big screw. It's like a bunning screw. And these are the teeth either side, and the crown that sits here gets screwed into the screw. So there's a screw within a screw.
Right.
And you can see this little grey bit here is the bone that supports your implant. So the better the bone, the better the implant. So you want that bone to sit somewhere at this level to ensure that you have good bone support and health of the gums. But if you don't, like I'll try and find a slide which I had before here of a not so good implant, you can see this black area through here.
Yes.
This is actually infection around the implants. You can imagine if that increases over time, you're going to lose those implants.
So that means basically that the bone is just decaying and
is eroding away because of an infection.
But how can you right that then? I mean, what do you do then?
There are a variety of different...
Secret dentist business, I'd say.
There's actually quite very, very good literature, very good research on what to do. And unfortunately, it's not 100% like everything, and the success rates vary greatly. But there are sort of staggered events like we're doing with you, is that we're taking a step at a time.
Yeah.
And it starts with non-surgical treatment, which is cleaning around the implant thoroughly and regularly.
Right.
And then if that doesn't work, then we sometimes move to surgical treatments, which can involve placing bone grafts around the implants, or removing the implant and another bone graft and another implant. And that's why prevention is so important and maintenance is so important, because if we can prevent this, we prevent so much time, effort.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask about the bone graft. I mean, how long does that then take before you can have a new
implant?
Yeah.
The bone graft needs about 3 to 6 months to heal, and then another implant is inserted. 2 to 3 months for that to heal, and then a crown can be inserted. Sometimes if the implant is inserted, you can sometimes put a crown on straight away, so you decrease the time for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But generally we allow that time. If you've had a complication before, we sometimes don't want to push the limits of biology, and we say, hey, do you want to...
But you can do a bit of a cosmetic
absolutely
clean-up looking thing, so you don't have a great hole in your mouth.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. So you're not walking around...
Like a denture or something.
You can borrow the sugar from the neighbours. You
can still smile.
You
can still laugh.
Absolutely.
So, Steve, just on a personal basis, you can relax. Is there more there we should be looking at before I tell you that?
Oh, no.
Just what makes somebody go into this line of dentistry?
Well, for me, I attended a lecture at Adelaide University at Orientation Week as a Year 12 student, and I wasn't actually thinking about dentistry. And I heard this amazing lecture from this very intelligent man who I think is still in the hospital. He was an anatomist, a dental anatomist, Professor Townsend, and I thought, this is quite interesting. So I ticked my preference box as dentistry, and 20 years later,
and that's how it all began.
Here I am, absolutely.
Gosh.
And dentistry has come a long way, I guess, in that 20 years. So do you have to keep going back to be refreshed with information?
Well, 3 weeks ago, I was in America taking a course for approximately a week to look at some of the most latest procedures in bone grafting. So it's never changing, and if things slow down and speed up, as you know, with music and everything in life. And 5 years ago, things had come to a bit of stagnation in implant dentistry. And although there's innovation and so on, in my field in particular, it wasn't a huge change. And then within the last 5 years, I feel like I'm 20 again because of the number of procedures I have to learn to keep up with the times is just phenomenal. And I think it will continue to increase with time. So either you stay ahead of the game or maybe you get left behind.
Do you think too then, as you say, that's how you found out about it, do you think there are more younger people coming into the profession that will follow you, what you're doing?
Implant dentistry... dentistry in general is an amazing field for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll go into theatre into hospital, and there'll be some other medical specialist there, and they go, wow, what are you doing? And we explain what we're doing. They go, that's incredible. And sometimes you've got to stand back and go, there's so much science that goes into dentistry, because you've got to deal with, like I showed you, the crowns and the implant. There's material science with the crown, because it's porcelain and metal, and there's the biological science with the implant that sits in the jawbone. And there are amazing people around the world that have put their brains together to create technologies that we take for granted. But it is incredible,
and
it continues to get forever changing. But the good news is there's some research to show that implants are getting better and better with time. So
you'll be all right.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to hear that. No, but it's fascinating to find out these things. Hence having you on the program, because I guess most people are a little bit afraid of going to dentists because they think it's going to be painful or uncomfortable. Truth is, it doesn't have to be anymore, and it necessarily isn't anymore.
Look, we carry out some procedures that can, like for someone who hasn't seen surgery, can say, well, that's quite significant. But patients, the technology we have for post-operative recovery are quite good, and the pain associated with implants really is minimal at most.
No, I can honestly say it didn't hurt a bit, to be honest. And as much as I'd like to find out a lot more, because it's an area that I'm so interested in. Thanks so much for being part of our time today, because it is good just to demystify these sorts of things. Now, we're going to be back shortly with Leo O'Reilly and a really interesting story. Stay with us.
Stay with us. Welcome back. And you know what?
What?
Well, we have a gentleman that has come.
We only ever have gentlemen because I'm here.
No, but all the way from Queensland. This is a first for us, Malcolm.
Yeah, but the show goes to air in Queensland.
I know, but he's actually visiting
Especially.
Leo O'Reilly, thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Leo, we really wanted to talk to you because what you're doing with youth is really commendable. And just explain, first of all, what it is you do, but then how it happened, how it began.
Sure. We use retired service people to run 12-day holiday camps for teenagers, 12 to 17-year-olds. And the idea is not to turn them into soldiers, but it's to create capable and confident young leaders.
So is it like a boot camp?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's often referred to as a boot camp, but strictly speaking, it's not. So if I told you were going to a boot camp, you'd expect some sort of pain and suffering, wouldn't you?
I would.
And mud, yes.
Well,
yeah, lots of mud.
Our camps are not about pain and suffering. It's about personal development and stretching the boundaries and helping them to gain more confidence and work out where they want to go and what they want to do.
And you think that's 12 days is long enough? You've seen some, obviously, it works because you continue to do it.
Sure.
But are there some kids at that age that just rebel and just don't want to be a part of it?
Absolutely. Look, the kids that come on our courses, these courses, the kids have to want to come.
Okay.
Okay, so they're not being forced to come. And if they want to come and they understand that they're doing something that's not getting them results they want, they're getting into trouble, they're having trouble at school, then we offer them the opportunity to have another go. So basically to start.
It's the alternative, isn't it, really?
It is.
It's the alternative to give yourself a direction in life.
It is.
Because I've been involved in a lot of youth over the years, I've noticed that some people don't really have that focus, like they're not driven by ambition, and they sort of just, there's nothing wrong with the kids, often it's the adults as well, but they just sort of amble through life thinking, oh, I wish I had, you know, some really good interest in something. Maybe I'll take up needlepoint or bowling or something, but it's really not what they were looking to do. Like Steve was just talking to us previously about having that really strong focus on dentistry when he heard somebody inspire him. Do you think we're inspiring the youth enough as adults?
Look, I think parents and kids are in an incredibly difficult situation at the moment. So, for example, there's social media and media constantly in their ear. We never had that as kids. And in many cases, they're hearing from people that they don't even know, and topics and subjects that the parents possibly don't even want them to hear about.
And have no idea that they are hearing it.
True,
Yeah.
true. And there are some fairly common themes that are starting to come out of the kids that we're meeting. The first one seems to be a total lack of accountability in a lot of them. So there's always an excuse or someone to blame.
Yeah.
They're never responsible for anything they had. Not all kids, but this is a theme that's coming out. So one of the first lessons we teach is that whatever they do, and sometimes things they should do that they don't, there's a consequence, and they are accountable for those consequences. And we're not interested in excuses, we're not interested in blame. We want to know if the result you got this time didn't work, what do you have to do next time to get a different result?
So it's a process of really working out what's good and bad for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not us telling them what's good or bad for them. It's them working out, well, that's not what I wanted. This is how I'm going to get it.
So it's really taking responsibility for their own education, if you like.
Correct.
I personally feel that that's something that we've lost in our society, the concept of taking responsibility for ourselves. It's always somebody else's problem. I'm not well because whatever, but, you know, I stayed up too late last night in the cold, or drank too much, or did some crazy thing, and the next day I feel terrible.
That's right.
And we don't want to blame ourselves because we're invincible.
Yeah, but just thinking though, you know, these kids obviously come from different backgrounds. Do you find it is possibly because of their background that this is why they need help from you? You know, is it a rough upbringing, or...?
Sometimes it is the background, but then again we're seeing children from very good parents, very good families, and the parents have just tried everything they can and it's not working.
Okay.
But do you think that is part of the problem? Because we live in the society we do. We have really everything at our fingertips, unlike my generation of parents who really didn't have anything. They didn't have radio, they didn't have television, they only knew the people who lived around them, they didn't travel.
Are you that old?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. And you're not far behind. But, you know, the reality was we came from that. So my parents wanted to give me everything they could possibly give me. And we've been brought up, the baby boomer generation, with really a bit of everything. So we're trying to hand that everything over to our kids as well as our parents taught us. Really no one's to blame. It's just the movement of history and society.
That's right. But that leads to the second thing we're finding, and that's this sense of entitlement. That they think that everyone owes them something, their parents owe them, society owes them. And the worst element of that is those that say, well, I don't have to go to school because I don't need a job, because I don't have to work and someone has to pay me. Yeah. So that sense of entitlement is very much a factor that we're finding again.
Is there a cut-off in age with that though? Do kids actually suddenly just think, oh, nothing's happening?
Like after they turn 17?
Yes.
Not that
No.
12 to
Finished.
17? But
No, you'd be surprised the number of 18 to 25-year-old parents who ring me and say, can I please put my 25-year-old on your course? I've got exactly that problem. So,
Wow.
No, it's just once they turn 18, you can't make them do anything they don't want to, and
So
it's a different problem.
Is it also part of our, if you like, legal system that discipline has been stopped throughout our upbringing of children? I'm not talking about the hitting and the smacking stuff. I'm talking about the actual discipline. No, you will be home at this time, or...
Yes, but I'm not sure whether that's because parents don't know how to do it, or how much or what they're scared of. You know, I think some of their powers have been taken away from them in some respects. You know, you can't even look sideways at a child without someone reporting you for something.
There is a bit of fear there. Yes, I agree. I guess the protection of children is so valid today.
It is, absolutely.
But perhaps we are overreacting slightly in other ways. But, you know, do you go that way because it's there in our society and you don't know how to curb it, or do you go that way and let things pass by because it might be safe?
Well, it might be then the confusion of to how much we have as a parent, how much we can give, and well, I'm just saying really what you've just said.
Yeah, but the reality...
there is a confusion there, though, as to how much you can give.
The reality in this situation is we all need help, isn't it, really?
Absolutely.
As parents, we need help. As kids, our kids need help.
Yes.
So what happens? Tell us what happens. So they all turn up on the first day.
Okay, so the first thing is we take everything off them that they brought with them and put them in a uniform and boots.
Like phones?
Phones, yes.
iPads?
Yes, well, they can't bring iPads, they're a prohibited item. So we put them into uniforms and we put them into sections of 12. So there are 4 sections of 12, take a maximum of 48 on the course. Some of what we do is very basic recruit training. Things like they'll get up at 6 o'clock every morning, which comes as a bit of a shock to some of them.
To me.
They'll do physical training, have breakfast, have a shower, and then we have morning routine. So they'll make their beds, iron their uniforms, polish their boots, clean the barracks. We also get them to do drill, which is marching. Not that we need them really to march, but it's very good for both coordination and teamwork.
Yeah.
During the course...
Sorry, I was just thinking, is this boys and girls? Or
Boys and girls.
It
yes,
is?
Yes.
Good.
In the same dorm, is that what you're saying?
No, definitely not in the same dorm.
Oh, see, your life's changed.
No. They work together during the day, totally separate, but at night.
Okay.
Yes.
So
That
it
was
is...
the mother talking.
No, we hadn't asked that question, so it was I just wanted to know.
Fair enough.
So they've had breakfast, they've done all of that, then what's next?
So then we have a daily program. They'll normally have, as I said, drill, where they learn to march. They do a first aid qualification while they're on the course.
Oh,
so
great.
they get a nationally accredited first aid qualification.
We should all have that.
Absolutely. We're also very big on values and things like honesty, integrity, loyalty, mateship, work ethic. Not just the word, but how do people live by these values? And more importantly, how do they make decisions based on these values? Because that comes back to our first lesson. You are responsible for the consequences of your actions. So if you're going to make decisions based on values, you're going to get a different outcome to if you didn't make a decision based on values. So we spend a lot of time teaching about values and morals as well.
So the end result of this is what? What are you looking to get from the kids?
You send them back into the real world and hopefully they'll all be absolutely fine.
Well, we get a range of responses, but there's probably a third element that we haven't mentioned yet, and that is the confidence building. We find that a lot of the kids are lacking self-confidence and self-esteem.
It's a lot more that we can talk about.
There is.
You know,
Look,
I mean, we are running out of time, unfortunately.
Can you come back and let's continue this conversation, because I think there's a lot more that we can help people with to make a decision to do something like this. And for it to spread all over the country.
Yeah. But the short answer to your question, at the end of the course, they should have more self-discipline, more self-control, more self-respect. And if they have self-discipline, then no one else needs to discipline them.
No.
And they can live a happy, healthy life.
They can.
Thanks for coming down all that way, and we welcome you back in a couple of weeks to continue this conversation.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, and we'll be back with a whole lot more from Leo and Janice and me in a minute.
Hello, I'm Peter Selland, and thanks for watching Our Time. With me once again is Philip Stiles, our travel expert. Philip, welcome to the show.
Once again, thank you.
Now,
nice to be here.
If you're travelling, overseas in particular, obviously, a passport is a vital part of your kit.
A very necessary part of it, and head off to the post office is probably one of the easiest ways to grab a form. You can put together the details, get the various documentation required, arrange for a photograph to be taken. A number of post offices provide that facility as well at a cost. The important thing is answer the form in the way the questions are asked. Don't just say that'll do, because it won't. And then the application process, by relodging it, the post office will make an appointment time for you, and then it goes into the system, and ideally you end up with a passport at your end.
They're very particular. The photograph in particular has to be a certain size. You're not allowed to smile. You've got to be...
Some countries are more particular about how much smiling. India, no smiling. But it's important to just do as they say and get it right. The post office will help you with all of that.
Sure.
So plan it that way. Then think of the countries you're going to. There are a number of countries that provide instant access where a visa is not required. There are those countries where you can apply for a visa online, and that works pretty well. There are companies that work together with travel agencies and who will handle that process for you. Complete the form, they'll send it off, get the visa for you, and return it to your travel agent.
Now, it's also important to remember that when your passport is nearing the end of its life, 10 years I think is the life of the passport, you can't travel, and you shouldn't travel before that time.
Most countries require a 6-month validity. They don't want you in their country when your passport's about to expire, and so you need to be conscious of the date you'll be returning to Australia, so that it's certainly not within that 6-month period. A number of Asian countries in particular definitely want you to have a longer period of time, a full 6 months.
So, I mean, it's obviously a very valuable document. What should you do to safekeep the thing when you're travelling around? Keep it with you all the time?
Keep it with you, yes. Make sure it's secure. Depending on, in some locations you may need it during the course of a day. It can be quite easy to leave it in a hotel safe or in your safe in the room. Just remember to clear it when you leave. That's very, very important.
That's very sound advice.
It's a big issue once you can't get your hands on it.
Philip Stiles, thank you once again, talking about travel and passports.
Pleasure.
Thanks, guys. Hey, in our little conversation before, we were just talking about the food on your course.
Yes, they only receive healthy, nutritious food. It's a sugar-free diet, junk food-free diet, and you'd be amazed at some of the changes in behaviour simply taking sugar out of the diet.
But when you did put sugar in the diet, they went crazy the next day.
Well, we found on the first course, if they had something like ice cream for dessert, then the behaviour levels were highly elevated. Put it that way.
That's some very good advice, though, for parents who are just looking after,
Absolutely.
We've got more information about this on Facebook, so please join us on Facebook, and maybe you've got a comment or a question that you can ask and we can help you find the answer with your help, and good luck with the course, because we know that it's in its infancy and it's just going to grow. So until next time on Our Time, keep yourself nice till we see you next.
Take care. See us next time.
Bye
Bye for now.
Bye.